followed by a question and answer session. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our wonderful speaker, Dr. M. Rizalul Haq, from Faculty Law of University Utara Malaysia, and all of our participants who still with us in the second session. Now, I will read short profile of our speaker, Dr. M. Rizalul Haq. He is a senior lecturer at the School of Law, University Utara Malaysia. Previously, he worked as an associate professor and dean at the Faculty of Law, Eastern University, Bangladesh. He also served Telekom Malaysia International Bangladesh Limited as in-house lawyer for its human resource division. Besides, he had the opportunity to work in the International Chamber of Commerce in Paris as intern in summer 2006. He began his career as research assistant and consultant for the Department Justice Canada. In their joint judicial and capacity building project with the Board Bank for the Ministry of Law Bangladesh, he received his PhD from the Department of Law, University of Wollongong, Australia, preceded by an LLM from the Swedish Law and Informatic Research Institute, Stockholm University, Sweden. Prior to this, he graduated with LLB and LLM from the University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. That's the profile of our speaker. Now let's go back to Dr. M. Rizalul Haq. Time and screen is yours.
Thank you for a very generous introduction. So, can I start my presentation now?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. I need to share the screen, right?
Yeah. Let me do one who share it for you.
Okay, it's fine. All right. So, our today's topic is combating money laundering in the digital age. I welcome all the participants and I thank the management of this wonderful program for inviting me. And my introduction has already been given to you. Just in case, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to ask. Of course, there shall be a presentation, a question and answer session end of the presentation, but it is okay if any of the participants has any questions and they want to ask. So without any further delay, I want to just go into the topic. So if you understand the concept of money laundering, then we all know that this is something we want to avoid in order to safeguard the financial system that we have. So the first question to me, to the audience, how many of us, my apologies because I couldn't obtain the full bio of all the participants. I was told that the participants are university students, but I really don't know the level they are in, undergraduate or postgraduate. So how many of us are familiar with the term money laundering and we understand it? You know, this is just so that I can pitch my speeches accordingly. Some of us, are we familiar with the term money laundering, how it works? All right, I'll assume that, okay, I'll start. Some of you, yes, wonderful. From Syed Muhammad Alamgir Hussain, yes. And any other participants? All right. So the first part we're going to discuss on the concept of money laundering. So this is a simple process of making sure that nobody has any doubt about the earning you have that you got from illicit sources. If you're earning money from legal sources, lawful sources, your business, and you pay taxes, or the salary that is credited to your account every month, then there's no problem. What if you are engaged in some kind of illicit business, like anyone, like drug trafficking or human trafficking or arms smuggling or anything that is illegal? It could be even bribery and corruption of different types. Then the way we earn the money, we cannot put it in our life the same way. We cannot very easily spend it, because there's income tax department in every country. So if my earning and then my spending, they're not similar. I have a public service and my income is fixed. But if I have a very luxurious life, then the authority will ask where I got the extra money from. So this is true for everybody. There should be some kind of match between the earning and the spending. So when the people, the criminals, they have illicit profit, then they don't want to answer this question. They want to avoid this question. Because if you ask them where you got the extra money from, you have a government service, for example, but you are driving a very luxurious car, then how do you answer? You need to prepare the answer. So what the criminals, those who are involved in bribery, corruption, or say any kind of illicit business, what they do, when they have this illicit money, they put it through the laundering process so that the money appear legitimate and they can use it. For example, if somebody has earned 500, $500,000 of any currency, which is a large amount of money. It's in Malaysia, for example, 500,000 of Malaysian ringgit. They cannot bring it home because such a large amount, you cannot keep it home. The moment you want to take it to the bank will say, okay, give us some documents showing the source of the money. And that is the trouble. You are in trouble. Then what you do? You need to keep the documents ready. So when people earn money through illicit sources, they put it through some kind of layering. Say, if I have 500,000 ringgit, I'll try to buy something expensive with this. Somehow I'll buy some jewelry, for example, or buy some share certificate, or I'll buy a piece of land or something. And then I'll sell this property after a while. And then with that money, I'll keep all the documents when I sell, and then I'll buy something else. I keep doing this until I feel safe. Now, when I have the money after, say, 1 year or 6 months, if I take it to the bank will say, where do you get the money from? I sold my land. How did you buy the land? I sold the jewelry. How did you buy the jewelry? I sold my stocks. So I have many answers ready. All the process, all the transactions I did after receiving the illicit profit, this is called layering. A lot of transactions. Even it may involve sending the money abroad through some hundi services and then receiving it back as foreign remittance. And it could also be like I can give the money somebody as loan and receive it from their account. So from the bank transaction. So at one point of time, after a lot of transaction, the money will appear legitimate. How? Now, if the bank asks me, you want to deposit this large amount of money in your account, but that does not go with your transaction profile, your declared income, then I have a lot of answers already ready, and I can give them the statements, the bank statements, or the documents that will connect all the transactions. Once the money is placed in the bank safely without raising a suspicion, this is called placement. Now I can invest the money in buying a house, or maybe buy a car or jewelry, something that will not raise any question now. Remember, the layering process, not necessarily I did it myself. Maybe I took the help of a professional money launderer or some friends to do that. That was the layering process. Once it is done, I deposit the money, the placement is done. And after that, I can use the money now as my legitimate fund without raising any suspicion. So the money laundering process is complete. So this is what is dangerous in a society, that when somebody is bringing large amount of money, if the financial institutions that do not raise any question, if the government institutions, agencies like tax authorities or central bank, if they do not raise any questions about the source of the money, then people will be corrupt. People will go and earn money through different illicit sources, and they will use it. So this is the concept of money laundering. That is, there's a problem, and that is eroding the skin of the society day by day. Because if you know that you can earn money and in illicit ways, and then you can use it, enjoy the money, then many people will be corrupt and they will earn money in illegal ways. But if there are regulations in the bank and financial institution that will challenge people every possible ways, if they have money but they do not have any explanation about the source of the money, then the corrupt people, they will know that it is easy maybe to earn money in illicit ways, but what is the point of earning that money if I do not have a comfortable way of spending? So anti-money laundering regulation basically create a check and balance. Every time somebody is depositing money, they will check and balance, ask for the source of the money. And that is how the whole system, the process will discourage people to follow the process or the way of earning dirty money. So that is the whole purpose of having anti-money laundering law in the society, and that is how the money laundering works. What's the impact of this money laundering in the global economy? So there is a latest survey from UNODC and also from IMF, and they said that they have the last 10 years data, and that shows that about 2 to 5% of the global GDP is laundered. So it's a huge amount of money. So global GDP is 2 to 5% is laundered through money laundering process. That means this is the amount, at least this is the amount which is illegal, and this is being used by the financial by the professional money launderers, even individuals. The process they use to keep doing what they're doing, and also so that their illicit profit and the fund that appears legitimate. So the scale is really, really huge. The global level is like 5% of the total GDP. Now, some of the countries that is heavily and very badly affected by this phenomena, this problem. Two of the countries are from the ASEAN region. One is Laos, and of course, another is Myanmar. And there are few countries like Chad and from Africa, Haiti from Africa. So some of the countries that are heavily affected by money laundering process. This is partly because it's not only that the people of that country, they're using the financial system of those countries for laundering money, but since they have kind of softer or weaker regulatory regime, so money launderers from other countries, they can also target these countries to use their financial system in the laundering process. For example, if I have illicit fund in Malaysia with me, whatever, maybe it's $500,000, say cash. So I can give it to Hundi business owners, the cash, like in 50,000, and then they will somehow send this money to one of those havens, tax havens, or countries that are affected by heavily affected by money laundering. So they can send the money through similar channel like Hundi or something, some other channel, and that money will come back. They will get the commission. After that, the money will come back to my account, say, as a foreign remittance. Maybe I have a company that is doing some kind of business, so it will then appear as a payment for some kind of services or goods that I sent to that country. So this is the process. Now the money looks like it's a legitimate earning. So laundering process works this way. So some of the countries that are affected by this phenomena, the criminals, professional money launderers, they're targeting these countries because of their weak financial regulatory regime and weak regime that does not care much about the way international standards are followed by other countries to prevent money laundering and financing of terrorism. The next slide, please. Now, the digital transformation of money laundering. So if you ask me how money laundering works, I have already explained that. I give one example. So that in my previous slide, I said about the smarting, how it works. If I have a lot of money, that is the cash, and whatever the sources, and it is something that does not go with the declared income I have. So I have a bank account and I have declared that I'm a university lecturer and this is my earning every month. And this is some of the earning I earn from some consultancy or something. So the bank has an idea the highest amount I earn because they have data of last 5 years. Suddenly, if there's a large deposit, this will raise suspicion. They will ask a question. So what I can do, if I have like now 500,000 ringgit that I earn from illegitimate sources, drug selling, for example, I cannot take it to the bank. Then I can take this service from the smurfers, the professional money launderers. I can give them the money. And then what they will do, they will not put the money in my account. Rather, they will put the money in their account or then the friend's account. How? Not the whole amount, but small amounts. They will divide the 500,000 into small, like 25,000, 50,000, depending on the bank, depending on the regulation. And they will deposit this in different accounts. Even they will send the money to other countries and then bring it back and do a lot of layering for me. They are the professional money launderer. They will give me this service. Now, your question is why they are dividing the money in small units, not by 500,000, because every bank in the world now, they have something called cash transaction limit. So there's a ceiling. If you deposit an amount which is higher than that amount, that is the maximum cash transaction allowance, that will raise an alarm. That is called significant cash transaction. So then a CTR or significant cash transaction report will be generated. And they'll ask you a question. So the threshold is, say, in some countries, 50,000 ringgit. But if it is 45,000, there will be no problem. So they will not cross that limit. They will deposit 45,000 to avoid that detection. And then instead of depositing 100,000, maybe they will do this like 33, 33, 34. No question, because no CTR will be generated in this situation. This is the job that smurfers do. In the digital environment, smurfing is not necessary nowadays. Now, there are different types of tools that you can do all by yourself. In the digital environment, now professional money launderers are still there, but still there are other tools available today that anyone can use for laundering money in the digital environment. And it is very easy if you know how it works. The next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So how digital technology can work. So if you think about cryptocurrency and then think about other digital payment system, here the actual money, nobody knows what it is. You're dealing with numbers, some digits. So one of the example is cryptocurrency, and there could be black wave as well. So how it works in the online banking sector now, people are transferring money from one bank to another bank under minimum supervision. Think about the previous days when our grandparents used to bank. So they need to physically appear before the bank to encash or liquidate a check or transfer the money or deposit the money. And in most cases, they know who the person who the person who is depositing the money, who is withdrawing the money. But nowadays, you see all things are taking place online, the virtual environment. So you can easily steal my password and my login and do all the transaction on my behalf. This is possible. Another thing is online banking give the kind of anonymity. You can do the transaction without showing your face. So certain you want to transfer money to a certain person, bank will never know who you are, who that person is. Bank will only see if the right login and password is being used. So that is something that has made the use of online and the digital environment easy for the money launderer. One example, for example, the cryptocurrency. Now we have regulation in Malaysia. There are regulations in Indonesia. There are regulations, but only a few years ago there was very limited regulation on who can own cryptocurrency, and it is and the real owner of a particular cryptocurrency would be disguised. So since there is no supervision, there was no regulation, and this is the same. This is the case in many countries even now, even today. Anyone can buy cryptocurrency and then send it to someone else and get the benefit. So I can, with the illicit money that I have, for example, $500,000, I can buy cryptocurrency. Say in Malaysia now they have regulation. A few years ago there was no regulation. So I could give the money to somebody and he or she can open a cryptocurrency account online and transfer the money in cryptocurrency. Remember, cryptocurrency is not under the watch list of your central bank. Your government, my government knows nothing about it. It's a virtual world. Now I can transfer this cryptocurrency. Somebody in New York, somebody in Africa, somebody in the Middle East, and they will have the money then. And then request them, okay, you keep your commission and send the money to me as foreign remittance. Say I have a pseudo bank, pseudo business, a small business. In the name of I am doing some kind of trade or business with them. I am exporting something from Malaysia, very limited, say some palm oil. Maybe I'm sending something worth only $10,000, but through invoicing, I can show this is $500,000, $500,000 ringgit. And then actually no palm oil is going or doing a very limited amount. But my friend who received my cryptocurrency worth of $500,000 ringgit will transfer that amount to my Malaysian account as a payment for the palm oil I exported to them. So now the money which was earned through drug selling in Malaysia, now it will appear as a payment of legitimate palm oil business. So cryptocurrency making it very possible, very easy. If I had to transfer the money from Malaysia through some bank account, there will be audit trail. Malaysian bank authorities will know that I am using my bank account. I'm sending it to Dubai first, and from Dubai it is coming back to me. But if I do this with cryptocurrencies, nobody will know because nobody's keeping track of cryptocurrencies here. So this is a challenge that the digital method people can use in the in recent time for laundering money. So illegal fund can be transferred easily, very quickly in the digital platform without letting anyone know or without raising minimum suspicion from one part of the world to another part. And it can be done very quickly. So if I need to take the money to the bank, deposit, filling out the form, and then you need to follow the similar transaction pattern, maybe next day, fill out the form, write a check, get the money. Long process, but I can do the same transaction, millions of transactions in 1 hour in the online environment. Money is now here, now to you, and from there to Tokyo to Dhaka, from Dhaka to Jakarta, from Jakarta to Philippines. It can go through multiple layers in seconds, and then the layering will be very difficult, and the complex transaction process will make it very difficult to detect the origin of the money. All right. So digital method made it easier, and quicker for the money launderer. Next slide, please. Now, how it works in the cryptocurrencies, you see that in the several cases, I'll give one example that cover two things. One is this Silk Road. This website, dark web, that existed between 2011 and 13. So people used cryptocurrency. So when they have the illegal money, they earn the money through some drug sellings or selling of arms or smuggling of any type or human trafficking or corruption or bribery. They do not use this money for their luxury all the time. Often, this illicit money is used for terrorist financing, used for similar illegal activities. So how do they do that? I cannot send a certain amount of money to a terrorist with his name on it, right? Or a person who is known corrupt person in a country. But it is easy if my country and his country has very limited or almost non-existent cryptocurrency regulation, then I can easily buy cryptocurrency and send it to him. It's a person-to-person transaction. Remember, when it's a bank-to-bank transaction, a lot of audit trail paperwork, and the authorities are always watching who is sending to whom. But if it is cryptocurrency, if I bought cryptocurrency somehow, and I'm sending it to you, only you and I know. That is a problem. So cryptocurrency can be used in person-to-person transaction, and then the person who is receiving it, they can help you to launder or use the money for different types of illegitimate work. So the Silk Road that existed between 2011 and 13, then it was taken down. That was an online platform where cryptocurrency would be used for buying illegal items, stolen items, smuggled items, and those things will be then delivered. So that was a challenge because nothing is happening with the fiat currency. Nothing is happening through the banks, but you are receiving the money. I'm giving you the money. And next day you are sending me the illicit things for drug smuggling, for stolen art or arms, anything you name, that can be bought and sold and bought on the online environment using cryptocurrency. And the money you are generating through such transaction, that is also stored in your cryptocurrency account. So you see, you can use cryptocurrency as a vehicle to transfer your illicit money, to generate more illicit fund, and later on you can bring it back somehow to the formal economy, and that is how laundering process can work. So one case study is this, that I said that the Silk Road that is now taken down, that was an area, the online marketplace, like now we have like Shopee and Lazada, or maybe Amazon or whatever, we have the online platform for buying things in Malaysia, similar platform, but it is a dark web. Next slide, please. All right. So the dark web is that I have already given the example, the Silk Road that existed between 2011 and 13. Now there are many. There are many. If you're in this business, you will know. So this was one example where people used cryptocurrency and other form of digital currency to make payment to buy illegal or illicit items like arms, drugs, stolen arts, etc. So this platform is known as dark web. So it's online marketplace, but for the thieves and for the criminals, no legitimate things taking place there. And digital money and cryptocurrencies, the virtual currency, these are the coins, these are the method they use for the payments, and then they receive the amount, receive the item they were negotiating. So this is another challenge, the dark web and the online marketplace, which is 100% dedicated for illicit businesses. Next slide, please. What are the legal and regulatory framework? Now, if you look at the traditional ways of laundering money, then all the countries around the world, they have a legal framework. There are international legal framework as well. Everything started mainly after the, for us, mainly after, us means all countries around the world except the United States of America, after the September 11 incident. So after that, the terrorist financing and money laundering, that becomes part of the world. And now there was an international push for the rest of the world to follow those regulations and have right regulatory tools in place to make sure that people cannot use the financial institution as a conduit of money laundering or terrorist financing. So if you think from 2003 onward, most of the countries had anti-money laundering law of different types, or they have started to have money laundering law. How it works? You have the banking law, fine, but banks are not the only financial institution they're transacting in money. How about the stock exchange? How about the jewelry shops? How about the insurance companies? So there are many companies, there are many businesses, they are dealing with large amount of money and different types of financial services. So it could be insurance company, the banks, credit bureaus, and then it could be the bullion services, etc. So the initial legal framework was that these financial institutions, they will have two things in place. Number one, they will have KYC, or customer due diligence, know your customer. There is a customer due diligence process. Anytime anybody wants to open an account, or they already have an account and they want to make a transaction, or they may not have an account but want to use one of these institutions for financial transaction, then if the transaction appears suspicious based on a number of things, for example, my earning is this amount every month. If I am receiving larger amount every month and spending larger amount, then it will raise question, where am I getting the extra money from? This kind of thing. So if there's a suspicion, then they will report. So in order to report, they must know the customer. So KYC means every financial institution, they must identify their customer, about their profession, about the money they earn, and about the source of the money they earn, and the maximum and the minimum amount they're going to spend every month through ATM, through card, through cash, through check. That creates a profile for the customer. All right. So if the bank knows my profile, that this is his profession, this is the source, the earnings, source of earning, and this is the amount he spends every month, then if I do something abnormal, suddenly there's a large amount deposited in my account, then they will raise a question and ask me about the source of the money. So this thing was the first in the regulatory regime in every country, that know your customer, know about their earning, and if they do anything suspicious, then raise question. That's the first regulatory requirement for all the financial institutions. Earlier, we didn't have this. All right. Now, once we have this, what the bank will do, or the financial institution will do with that report, they ask me, okay, where you got the money from? So every month, I send a certain amount of money to my family back in Bangladesh. Bank knows my income, and bank knows how much I send. Suddenly, I am sending, say, 10 times bigger than the usual amount. Maybe the bank will ignore the first time. The second time, I do the same thing. Maybe I send, say, 100 ringgit every month. Now I'm sending suddenly, say, 1,000 ringgit, which is like 10 times more my usual transaction. Bank can call me and say, you are sending a lot of money back to your country. Now, what's the source of your money? Your earning is not that much. I can give them some explanation. For example, well, bank transaction is very costly. So what happened, a lot of migrant workers around my place. So if everybody wants to use the banking channels, everybody will have to pay like 5 ringgit as a charge bank fee for transferring the money from Malaysia to Bangladesh. So they can and give the money to me so that I can send it to Bangladesh to one bank account there. And from there, their relatives will distribute the money. This is only to save the transaction. Perfectly acceptable explanation. Bank may just let me go. But if it is not the case, I'm doing this over and over again and again, then the bank might think that, well, there's something suspicious. Why this person is sending large amount of money every month? It's now been 4 or 5 months. At this situation, if my explanation does not satisfy the bank, what the bank can do is called STR, Suspicious Transaction Report. They will send it to the Financial Intelligence Unit of Malaysia. So the legal and regulatory frameworks is the second thing, creation of Financial Intelligence Unit that will receive suspicious transaction reports from the financial institution about any person or entity. And after the investigation, if they find that I am probably engaged in some kind of illegal activity, then they will prosecute me. So this is the legal framework. We didn't have this before. The same framework everywhere around the world without exception. The same thing. Know your customer and keep a close eye, keep them under close monitoring. If there's anything suspicious, ask for explanation. If you're not happy with the explanation, then you can submit 2 things, STR, Suspicious Transaction Report, or CTR, Cash Transaction Report. That is significant cash transaction. And the financial institution will send it the Financial Intelligence Unit. Normally, they are under the central bank. Everybody sends report to them. And if they find interesting, they can take it to the next level through police, court, prosecution, etc. This is the regular framework that we have around the world in the national level. Next slide, please. Okay. So one thing that need to be added here, that when we say legal and regulatory framework, we have 2 things. The legal framework is giving the basic law that creating a particular authority, for example, Financial Intelligence Unit, and giving them some power for confiscation of property and for asking reports from the financial institution. But that's not everything. There are regulatory regime. All the banks, they are under the Banking Regulatory Authority. Insurance companies, they are under the Insurance Regulatory Authority. Similarly, NGO Bureau in many countries, they oversee the activities of the NGOs. So those regulatory bodies, sometimes they can propose or impose certain kind of regulatory behavior, certain kind of activities that can be done. Say they can say that you have to submit this kind of documents. You can do this, you cannot do this. So they can regulate the institution under their supervision, the Banking Regulatory Authority. So they have certain power too. The Central Bank or Financial Intelligence Unit, instead of knocking at the individual bank, they can also talk to the Banking Regulatory Authority and give them certain guidelines so that they can also conduct some kind of supervision on the banks. So at the national level, this was happening. But the international legal framework. Now, probably a logical question is why suddenly banks or financial institution of a country, say Indonesia, will start creating a law like this? And the first thing. And second thing, how do they know what to include in this law? And how do they know how the law will look like? And what kind of authorities will be created? What power they will have? And how the investigation will go? How suddenly all the financial institutions and the FIU around the world, how they know that? The answer is here. The FATF, Financial Action Task Force, is a global watchdog. It was created long ago, 1989, or yes, during the G8 conference. This is the authority, global watchdog on financial crime, and is related to money laundering and terrorist financing. What they do, they have 40 recommendations. Later on, it became 40 plus 8, and now it's back to 40 recommendations. These 40 recommendations is like Bible for the financial institution all around the world. It's a non-governmental organization. It's not UN, but it's really powerful. The recommendation they gave, it is obligatory to all the members. Every country around the world now they're members. Indonesia too. So they visit country to country and then see if those countries are complying with these 40 recommendations. One recommendation, for example, each country will have an anti-money laundering law to prevent money laundering and terrorist finance. Each country will criminalize money laundering. Every country will have financial intelligence unit with the necessary power to ask for reports and take actions based on those suspicious reports. So these kind of recommendations are there, these 40 recommendations. Now, what they do, they observe every country and they evaluate the level of compliance with this international standard. They have an evaluation mechanism all around the world, and they do the rating. Now, why should I care? Well, I should care because if my rating is bad, if I do not have the law, if I do not have the authority like Financial Intelligence Unit, then I'll be put in a gray list. Currently, North Korea in the gray list. Previously, Iran was in the gray list. And only a couple of months ago, Pakistan was in the gray list. Afghanistan and Iraq is already in the gray list. What does gray list means? You are in the gray list means your country has limited financial regulation. It is easy to be corrupt and use the corrupt money for enjoyment. Nobody asking a lot of questions. If this is done, that is, a country is put on the gray list, the credibility of the financial system of that country is in question. And many countries will not do financial transaction with the banks of your country. Since Iran is in gray list because of their suspicious, or very weak regulatory framework on anti-money laundering. So if you want to do a transaction with them, your bank will say, no, we cannot send money there because they're in the gray list. If we do transaction with them, so it's naming and shaming. So to be in the gray list is not nice because then you are listed as a jurisdiction with a very questionable and weak anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism financing, terrorist financing regulatory legal framework. You do not have a good legal framework. Then it's a question. And this will discourage other countries and central bank to have financial transaction trade relationship with you. So it is not a nice thing. So, and then in the UN level, from UNODC, they also have certain guidelines about how to deal with money laundering. Because money laundering is the process how you whiten the black money or, clean the dirty money or the layering process of the transaction. So if anti-money laundering law is there, then it will not be possible for anyone, or it will be extremely difficult for most of the people to whiten the black money or clean the dirty money. And if you know that you can only earn, but you can only enjoy the money, then probably will not do the crime, you cannot commit the crime that initially generated the illicit fund. So this is the global framework that we have. Now, what are the role of international organizations? I'll just talk about a lot of international organizations. I'll just talk about 2 or 3. First one is the FATF, Financial Action Task Force. They have given the international standard of how to fight with money laundering, and financing of terrorism. So they are the global standard setter. And they have regional bodies, say APG, Asia Pacific Group on Money Laundering, based in Australia. Indonesia is a member of that. Bangladesh, Malaysia is a member of that. So APG do the same thing that FATF does. Like they monitor each and every country, sit with the banking officials and the government officials and see the progress they made. And based on that, they will evaluate the country and give the rating. Are you compliant with recommendation 1? If yes, then C, largely compliant, SLC, non-compliant, NC. So this kind of rating. And after that, they will let you know if why do you know, what is your position? Are you a compliant country or largely compliant country or non-compliant country on an average? And based on that, your international partners will know you, how strong and robust anti-money laundering system you have. So that is one institution, FATF. Another thing is the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit. So as we talk about the digital age and anti-money laundering platform, the thing is, it was not possible for illicit fund to transfer from Malaysia to Indonesia, say 50 years ago. Very difficult until or unless you have the cash in a bank, in a boat, and you or on an aircraft and you take it there. But you see, now it's possible. I can just click on my bank account and my illegal fund is there. Or I can do the same thing with cryptocurrency. I can buy cryptocurrency with all my illegal fund and just transfer it from my account to your account in Indonesia. It's very easy. That means banking channel can also do the same. If I have money, I can also transfer my money from my bank to your bank in Indonesia. What I want to mean is that now money laundering can take place in different geographic locations at the same time. It may involve transferring the money from one place to another, not within the same jurisdiction, but in multiple jurisdictions. From here, I can send the money to Dubai, from Dubai to Jakarta, from Jakarta to Dhaka, from there to Delhi, from Tokyo, from New York, anywhere. So it is important for the authorities in Malaysia to have connection with international other financial intelligence unit from another country, from Indonesia, from Philippines, from Bangladesh, from India, from from Japan, because if they want to prosecute me in Malaysia for the crime I've committed, they must have all the evidence ready. It is not just enough to show that what I have done here. If they want to prove the case against me, they need to collect all the transaction reports from other countries, other banks in another country that I have used for the layering purposes. For that, Malaysian Financial Intelligence Unit must collect information from Dubai, from India, from Indonesia, from those countries' financial intelligence unit. So Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit is that organization where the members are FIU or financial intelligence units of different countries. They sit together. So if the Malaysian Financial Intelligence Unit, they need information about the financial transaction of a particular person or an institution that is based in Malaysia, but they have done some transaction in Indonesia, Malaysian Financial Intelligence Unit can go to the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit and request who is there, and then say that through this platform, can we exchange information? Sometimes it may happen country to country, but in most cases, you need a platform. So you can say that Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit is that platform where all the financial intelligence units, most of them in the world, they meet and they can exchange information about each other. It's an information exchange platform. So they are also supporting the global initiative towards money laundering. And of course, United Nations Security Council is also there. They also provide some guidelines sometimes. But for today, these are the two things that I want to talk about: the FATF and Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit. They are very important, and they are working towards creating a global standard of fighting against money laundering and financing terrorism. Next slide, please. So the national legal approach is an anti-money laundering law or prevention of money laundering law in most countries. So national approach is always under, in most cases, under the central bank. And sometimes it is done by the police as well. So in the UK, the Financial Intelligence Unit is situated within UK police. In Malaysia, it is situated within the Bank Negara. So depending on how each country finds it comfortable, the national legal system is something that first create an authority. The name is Financial Intelligence Unit, and give them certain power, like power to collect report, power to analyze the report, and based on those report, power to prosecute any person or institution. This is the national legal approach in every country. And these same institutions, they also have the power to cooperate in international level with other countries for collecting evidence, etc. So they have laws and regulations, all the countries in the world, most of the countries, in order to make sure that nobody can use the financial institution to whiten their black money or clean their dirty money. So what the case studies are effective national anti-money laundering program. One program is, of course, it's a very effective program that they had in Malaysia. In recent time, a lot of anti-money laundering initiatives were taken and a lot of cases were settled, very important cases. You always see them in the media. So now regulation is that all the local people and also the foreigners, they are under scrutiny. 3 days ago, there was a new update that came that now Malaysian authority, they will also look into the crypto traders, that is those who are trading in cryptocurrencies, to monitor their income, to find out if it is somehow related to any kind of crime or offenses. So this is a very successful one, and you can see that because of this regulation, the international rating is also very high, which is done by Financial Action Task Force in their latest mutual evaluation report that came in 2016. Next slide, please. Now, regulatory challenges in digital. It's a very simple and at the same time very complicated. If you know that the thief can steal your item in a certain way, you can then prevent it in the same way. Or in the other way, I can say that if you know how to prevent yourself from theft, the thieves also know how to do the job without letting you know. Thieves are getting smarter every day. So if I say that cryptocurrency can be used for laundering money, that digital transformation of value or currency has created this opportunity for the criminal to convert fiat money into virtual currency and do the transaction anywhere in the world, then the same tool can be used by the law enforcing agency to monitor. One example, at the national level in Malaysia, they have now platform. Those are the platforms are registered under the Malaysian Securities Commission, Securities Commission of Malaysia, SCM, and those platforms are, facilitator in doing crypto trading and buying and selling cryptocurrencies. That means if I want to buy cryptocurrency, I must register with this authority, and they're monitored by Malaysian Securities and Exchange Commission, Securities Commission of Malaysia. So now cryptocurrency cannot be used here illegally. The thing that was being used for illegal purpose in many countries around the world, the same thing.
Wait a minute, sir. I'm sorry, we have a connection problem. Let me share it on my phone. This slide.
Next one, please.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. But although the same tools national regulatory authorities are using to track money launderers in the digital or virtual world, but this is not always possible to track down the criminals, because if the criminals wish to, they're bound, they're forced to register their name as the, for their crypto account, definitely they're not going to use that particular registered account for criminal activity. They can find many ways of creating or opening account in another country that has very limited regulation or very weak regulation, and use those accounts for transferring their illegal activity. There's a question. Can you ask the question? Let me see if I can open the question.
There's one question, so I say it right now. This is from Mintu. I'm sorry if I pronounced
According
it
to
wrong.
what effective measures can prevent the transfer of inheritance money abroad to the heirs? Well, in this situation, what effective measure can prevent the transfer of inheritance money? So there is no specific rule for the type of money. The rule is for the money. So nobody will ask in most cases what the source, what type of money is it? It's just the money. If the system allows, you can transfer the money. But how the money comes into your hand, that is the question. If it is your money, it does not matter if you earned it through your hard work or through selling some property or through as a matter of inheritance that you got it from your deceased father or mother. It doesn't matter. The moment money is in your hand, then it is in your control. If you fulfill the regulation and the legal requirement, you can send the money anywhere in the world. For example, if you want to transfer money from Malaysia to Indonesia, they will ask you, why are you sending the money? Okay, because this is the payment for a conference. Fine. Give the document, send the money. Why are you sending this money to them? Oh, this is the money because I bought something from that company in Indonesia, and this is the payment for the item I purchased. Everything is monitored this way. As long as the transaction is following the legitimate transaction rules of every country, it is irrelevant where the money is coming from, because the international transaction will only involve if you have the correct type of invoice when you're sending the money, if the transaction is legitimate. Now, but the source of your money, how it gets from, that's a whole lot of different things that your national law will determine if you can touch the fund without distributing to your other siblings, without giving share to the creditors, etc. That's a different thing. But if it is in your hand and you want to transfer the money abroad, the only question is if that particular transaction is legitimate. Bank is not going to ask you about the source. They're only going to ask, why are you sending? So that is the challenge. And difficulties regulating digital currencies and online transactions. The difficulties is that the way the thieves and the criminals are getting smart, it is really difficult to keep pace with them, because they have latest and innovative ways of doing what they're doing. They're always a step ahead of us. And that's why crime is never-ending phenomenon in the society. One example is you can earn money and then you can transfer it to cryptocurrency to another country. Now the question is, you say, you tell me that, well, but you said that the cryptocurrency users in Malaysia will, they'll be registered. And when they purchase a cryptocurrency, they will have a legitimate fund, for example, a bank account. They cannot buy it with cash. So who is registering a cryptocurrency account in Malaysia, and how they're buying it, what the source of that money, how much they're buying? Everything is documented under the agency. And those agencies are monitored by Securities Commission of Malaysia, SCM. Then how could that be a problem? Well, still that can be a problem. I can receive in my account from 10 or 15 different types of, cryptocurrency from another country. Say 10 money launderers, they can send it to my account. Say they are sending 10 cryptocurrency in my account, or half of the cryptocurrencies. That can be half. So 10 people are sending cryptocurrency in my account. Now, this is called mixture. So I have 15 cryptocurrencies of, say, Bitcoin. They send me 10. Now we have 25. I can send all these 25 to a third country. And from there, it can go to different places and eventually end up to those criminals. This is called mixture. Just think about that you are blending a banana, a mango, and a lychee, and sugar and water in a blending machine. Exactly this is what a cryptocurrency allows you to do. Receive money from different illicit, under-regulated areas of the world where regulation is very weak. From those accounts, you can receive money, cryptocurrency in your account. Your account is legitimate. Then you make one transaction to a third country. So you are helping the money laundering process through cryptocurrency. That is a challenge now. It's very difficult to determine. It's not impossible, but very difficult. Not all the countries around the world have the technology or the manpower, or human power in that case, to track down this kind of mixture, because thousands of millions of transactions are taking place every day. How much time will you invest in determining actually which currency came from where? It's very difficult. And it's evolving nature of regulation. As we said that we didn't have the law before about money laundering, now we have. And then digital age came, cryptocurrency, the virtual asset came, virtual currency came. In 2015, Financial Action Task Force gave a new guideline on how to deal with this virtual currency. So things are evolving, regulations are also evolving. Now, many countries are now refining, amending their existing anti-money laundering law to incorporate those regulations that will be suitable for tracking down and stopping money laundering using cryptocurrencies. So regulations are also evolving, not very quickly, but they're evolving for sure. Next slide, please. All right, we're almost at the end. We already can you go to the next slide, please? Combating money laundering strategies. The technological tool, as I said, that we can use the same tool that is being used by the criminal for laundering money. Can we use AI or machine learning? Yes, and blockchain analytics can also help us. It's a very simple example that previously maybe there was only one bank in your city and 500 or maybe 200 clients person and maybe 50 or 60 business registered. That's it. And just small tiny branch of a bank and everything manual. Think about, you can ask your dad or maybe ask your grandparents. They will tell this. Now, hundreds of thousands of accounts with a bank. And most of the people, bank even doesn't know them because they never come to the bank, everything online. What it means, among other things, is that millions of transactions are taking place every day in a country through these banks. Millions, if not billions. So it is humanly impossible to print out those financial transactions or open a Word account on your screen and monitor. So you can take the help of artificial intelligence and machine learning to detect the pattern of transaction. This person, for the first 2 years after opening the account, never crossed the limit of $10,000 in account, except some exception during the festival. But subsequent year, especially during the festival, the transaction is very high, and you can see the same trend every year. During the festival period, transaction is very high, $15,000, $20,000, $70,000, $80,000, but he never submitted any credible document that shows and justify this extra money for extra transaction. If you have few thousands clients in a bank and they're making few 100,000 transactions every month, how many officers will you engage to monitor this, print out? And it's happening millions of billions of transactions all across the country. So take the help of AI. So I gave you this slide, and how many times I wrote AI on these 27 slides? You can go slide by slide and 1, 2, 3 can count, or you can just copy everything, put in a Word file, Control F, and then write AI click. It will instantly tell you how many AI used here. It's like simple search in the in a Word file. If you're looking at a specific word, very simple, Control F, and then find how many times that specific word appeared on that file. So similarly, say this is just an example. AI and machine learning can be used, and you can feed the system with data, and then they can give you the pattern of your transaction. When exactly, what point of time the transaction was very high, was suspicious. What is your transaction profile, or TP? According to your profession, your income is this, so every month this is the amount you spend. Why are you suddenly spending more money and you never declared that extra income? So they can look at this pattern. The system can monitor hundreds of thousands of bank users, and they can generate the pattern and identify where something is going on which is suspicious and they are not supported by any evidence. One example is if the transaction limit in Malaysia is 15,000 ringgit. That means if I deposit 15,001 ringgit, then instantly it will generate a CTR, cash transaction report, or CTR, significant cash transaction report. And bank can always call me and ask, why did you deposit 15,001? That is the higher than the threshold amount. Because this is the amount they are told to monitor. I know, and what will I do? Now I have 15,000. I will make 5,000 today, another 5,000 tomorrow, another 5,000 tomorrow. That's why I will try to avoid the reporting. But AI can detect this thing and can say that this man did this before 3 years ago, and the next year, often in less than 1 week, he deposited the amount which he could deposit probably all at once. Probably this is intentional. That man is trying to avoid cash transaction reporting. He did this before. Within 7 days period of time, he deposited 15,000. Why he didn't deposit the 15,000 on the day one? Is it not that probably he got the money, he didn't get all the money in the day one. First day he got 5,000, he deposited 5,000. But what the pattern is repeating every year, or every month. This is intentionally done, which is called structuring. Often human eye can be very weak and difficult to identify this kind of structuring. How many transactions will you monitor? But AI and machine learning and the blockchain analytics, they can identify this pattern and can tell the authority, this man is structuring. He is intentionally depositing small amount of money to avoid cash transaction reporting and answering. So technologies can help us to monitor the transactions. Next slide, please. So another way is international collaboration. As I said, the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit, that is kind of cooperative body of all the major financial intelligence units around the world, from every country, almost every country, but not every country really, almost every country. So their country can collaborate, they can exchange information, because maybe somebody has taken money from Indonesia, but they transfer it to Malaysia, and a lot of transactions in Malaysia. Without this part of the transaction, the Indonesian police cannot prosecute that person, because they cannot create an audit trail and they cannot collect the, prove the crime. So they will have to, the Indonesian Financial Intelligence Unit will have to cooperate and ask for information from Malaysian Financial Intelligence Unit through the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence. So international cooperation is very important. And another thing is collaboration between the government is important, financial intelligence is also important, and also the technology companies. If Facebook is here, the Google payment is here, Google payment is also there. So maybe these technology giants, they can also cooperate with the governments, giving information about if somebody is misusing their system. And of course, it is a very challenging thing, and government will not do everything. So the public and private partnership is very important. That is how the financial intelligence unit, they cooperate with the bank with information. Financial intelligence unit, they will cooperate with the government with information. And the government, based on those information, take action against the criminal. If the financial institution didn't cooperate, if they didn't fully, comply with the KYC, know your customer requirement, and if they didn't report on time, then how the government will take action? So private and the public partnership is also important. It's another important tool in fighting against money laundering. Next slide, please. And yes, for the lawyers, in many countries, the financial intelligence unit, they even require the lawyers as reporting entities, just like banks, insurance companies. Lawyers are also lawyers and tax practitioners, consultants. They are also required to report to the financial intelligence unit if they find anything suspicious. How will they detect the suspicion? There are international best practices. Of course, there's an ethical issue that as a lawyer, you took the oath for the prevention of misuse of the legal system and to uphold the principle of human rights, and most importantly, to safeguard the judicial system of your country. That you cannot deviate from. So lawyers, they will have to report sometimes if a client came with some kind of unusual request to help them to launder money or help them to, evade tax. They will have to report this too. It is simply something like, if you see something, say something. So international best practices are there, you can follow that. And also the ethical guidelines for the lawyers, what they can do, what they cannot do. Next slide, please. So next slide, please, the next one. So we'll just give one example to the end of our lecture, of one example of one or two, in fact. Recent high-profile money laundering cases. That is, one is very recent. The Danske Bank is a Danish bank. how it was. This Danish bank was a nice bank, and it was from Denmark and clean country, not very corrupt, etc. They had opened an account in Estonia, another European country. There were not a lot of regulation when that branch started working, the Danish bank branch started working in Estonia. What happened? A lot of Russian smugglers, they started to use that branch of Danske Bank in Estonia to launder money. So they would deposit their illicit money in that particular bank account. The bank would not ask any question. And then bank would help to transfer that money in different places, including Denmark. And after a lot of transactions and layering, the money will go back to the original owner as clean money. By this time, the trace, the connection between the crime and the money, let's say the bribery, now completely vanished. What happened? This bank, the branch, Danske Bank, Estonian branch, they went to take over an Estonian bank. They wanted to buy. And then this is the situation when the whole merger process came under the scrutiny of the finance minister of Estonia, because one foreign bank is buying their bank. So they had to look into everything, the health, the financial health of the institution, and if they comply to all the regulations. And during this process, it was discovered, or you can say uncovered, that a lot of Russians smugglers were using that branch. And the board of directors, they knew, but they didn't say anything. And it was just discovered during this mergering process. Eventually, the European Commission fined them about 244 billion euro as a fine. So this is the latest case. And if you go back, you all know, how many of you watched the movie The Godfather? I'm sure some of you. It's the only movie I watched few hundred times, I guess. Now, The Godfather story is based on the real life Godfather, Al Capone. In 1930s, there was a prohibition in the United States that nobody can bring foreign alcohol and sell. But you know that people will drink anyway. So Al Capone was smuggling foreign alcohol during this era of prohibition from different parts of the world. And they are making a lot of money. But if they want to put that money in the bank will ask the question, where did you get the money from? So every day, hundreds of thousands of dollars would be generated through this illegal selling of alcohol. In the New York and Chicago, in both places, Al Capone had a big network of laundry machines. Now you can see the laundry machine, you go and buy the coin and you can clean your clothes and dry it, everywhere you can see, right? So this kind of laundry machines, not automated, small laundries are all around Chicago and New York, controlled by Al Capone. And nobody really buy things in these small machines with credit card. Even the card didn't have, check. All cash-based businesses, hundreds of them. So what Al Capone would do, so this week we have on $500,000, we can take it to the bank because bank will ask, what is the source of this $500,000? So what they would do, they would give this money small portion to each and every of these banks, of these laundries, 1,500. And those laundry, they had bank account. Since they generate their profit, their fund in cash, because people do cash transactions. So when they take the money to the bank, nothing happens. Bank doesn't question. So few hundreds of thousands small laundry shop, they are taking 1,500 from Al Capone and they're depositing to their account. Next week, they will send this money to Al Capone's bank account through bank transfer. Why? Because apparently they have purchased, say, detergent from Al Capone's company, which had basically never existed. So now Al Capone's money is coming back to him from some legitimate businesses' bank account, bank-to-bank transfer. Now the money is legitimate. So that is how he laundered money. And some people say that because he used laundries and laundry houses for cleaning his dirty money. So that's why probably it's called laundering, money laundering, but that is not really true. So these are some of the cases, and later on he was arrested and prosecuted. Next slide, please. So anybody had anything to share at this? Our class, I mean, the presentation is complete now. Nothing very substantial to say, but I want to know if the audience has anything to share or any questions they want to ask related to the discussion that we have to supplement our discussion on regulatory compliances or the crime itself. This is not the Q&A session that will happen in a few minutes, but this is before the Q&A session. It's a Q&A session related to the topic now we just discussed. Anybody want to share anything, or you can use the chatting tool, or maybe you can use the voice. One more question. In your opinion, what is the most effective measure that countries can take in international cooperation in preventing and combating money laundering? Is it the action of international organization, international regulation, or high technology applied in controlling transnational money laundering, or some others? Okay, the answer is very straightforward and very simple. What is the most effective way? Data transfer. When I say that, I know a businessman, a drug smuggler, doing drug business here in Malaysia, for example, and his partner is sitting somewhere in Bali or in Jakarta, but that person is a passport of Bangladesh, but he's a domicile in India. All I need information from all these countries to detect that person. So what I need, transfer of personal data, transfer of information from one country to another. That is what can help me to detect the crime and locate the criminal. Without information, we are nothing in this age. Now, why this is the answer? Because there's something called GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, in the European country, EU country. There are similar data protection law in other countries. Now, if you just talk about GDPR, the problem area is it gives a lot of control of the data subjects, say you and I, to control my personal data. What it means is that if you are a Swedish citizen, Swedish government cannot transfer your personal data, say your bank transaction, to any country in the world without your permission, or if that country does not have equal protection of personal data and privacy in that country. That means, say, Malaysian data protection law provides lower level of data protection and privacy protection. That is why no European country, no government or institution from Europe can send anything, any personal data to Malaysia related to any person or business, because law does not provide equal level of privacy protection here in Malaysia. That is provided by the GDPR in European Union. So GDPR prohibits. That's why many countries cannot do business properly, and many countries cannot, transfer personal data from European Union. So within themselves, they can do this, but they cannot send it to the third country. Third country means any country outside the European Union, because there's a prohibition in the GDPR. It's a regulation, binding regulation in the country. They cannot. So now, if a money launderer uses some European banks or financial institution or some partners in the European Union, it will be difficult for Indonesia or say Bangladesh or Malaysia or Myanmar or Philippines to bring any data from them, because their law will prohibit transfer of those personal data, bank transactions, etc., to my country for investigation. So we have asymmetric relationship here. So until or unless we have similar data protection law that provides similar kind of protection to personal data, the European person can always say, no, don't send my data to those countries because my data is not secure. Example, Schrems II case, 2020. Schrems II, Mr. Schrems was an European, he's a university student, very young. He went to the Facebook Ireland and said, I want all my data. So they gave the PDF file and he printed a few 100,000 pages, all the transaction chatting, all the photos, all the things he shared. Then he found out that the laws, the anti-terrorism laws and some of the laws in the United States of America that gives the American law enforcement agency to enter any premise, any company, anytime, and confiscate the computer or all the data they have for investigation purposes. They do not need the authority or permission from the court. Mr. Schrems went to the European Court of Human Rights and said that this is a violation of human rights because in Europe, no authority can do that. They need court permission or the permission from the appropriate authority before they enter into any premise, any company or institution and collect personal data. But in the United States of America, it's very common they can do that. So Facebook Ireland, the registered company of Facebook, Meta in Europe, they cannot send any information of the European user to the Facebook's mother company in the United States. And he won the case against Facebook, just university student. After that, Facebook Ireland was stopped sending any data to them. Now they had to change the regulation. They have to change the regulation in the United States that allows any European user, European citizen, to seek for adequate legal measure in the United States. After that, now Facebook Ireland can now transfer personal data. That's one example. In anti-money laundering cases in the digital environment, our problem is transaction takes place across different geographic locations in seconds. That's why we need evidence, information from different parts of the world. And probably, to my opinion, that's what the subject of my latest publication that I'm still working on. These asymmetric data protection law, data protection mechanism, regulatory regime in different parts of the world. Probably this is going to be the challenge of future business and also law enforcement between different countries, as long as international cooperation is concerned. I hope I answered the question. There's another question. I'm from Green University, Bangladesh. All right. Thank you for the session, Professor. I learned a lot. My question, what are the potential risks of non-fungible token NFTs being used for laundering money? I'm not familiar with the term non-fungible token. What I understand is that if it is registered and if it is categorized by the regulatory authority of your country, there is no problem. But if it's not registered and if it's not categorized, now what do I mean by this? In Malaysia, all tokens, if it is related to, say, any kind of cryptocurrency, these tokens are all types. I said, whatever the type is, registered as stock. So the Malaysian Stock Commission of Malaysian Stock Exchange Commission, they can regulate all types of coins, cryptocurrency coins, the same way they can regulate the share and stock of companies. Same view is taken by New Zealand. So the authority, the stock exchange, those who are dealing with companies and their share offerings and initial coin offering, for example, they will all come under the regulatory authority of this company, of this authority. And they will have to be accountable in the same way if they handed the stocks in some illegal ways. So you cannot transfer the coins, the initial coin offering, for example, in Malaysia for the cryptocurrencies, to anyone you do not know and anyone who is not registered or who cannot be traced. In that case, you're violating the law. And then you could be prosecuted under two laws. Number one, laws related to the stocks and anti-money laundering law. Plus, if that transaction somehow covers any sanctioned regime or institution, then anti-sanction law that can also come in, including anti-terrorism law, can also apply in this situation. So it is not only one law that will come. Depending on which country regulates, which agency regulates the cryptocurrency in that country. If the tax authority are regulating, then it will be a violation of tax authorities law. If it is a violation of stock exchange, for example, New Zealand and Malaysia, then it will come under the violation of stock exchange related law, Companies Act. And in all cases, it will be also a part of anti-money laundering effort. So the prosecutor will decide how will they deal with this thing, which law will provide the best, response towards this particular crime. So all depends on how the country define. In Bangladesh, for example, they do not recognize cryptocurrency. So you talk about non-fungible tokens, fungible tokens, whatever it is, all are illegal. They are not defined anyway. So how the law will apply all depends on how the country and the regulation define that particular and categorize that particular token. All depends on the definition. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone?
I'm sorry, sir, because the time is running out. We need to end this question and answer session quickly. I'm so sorry. And thank you for Dr. Emil Zaroha for taking the time to answering questions from the participant. And also thanks for the participant who already joined with us. Because the time is running out, we apologize in advance for the limited time available for any remaining questions, which can be discussed later. And now I will end this session. Thank you, Dr. Emil Zaroha.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the new knowledge and answering the question from the participant. Do you want to say anything for this second session?
So thanks all the participants for hearing me. And in case if you have any additional question, you can always contact the authority, and they have my email address and WhatsApp number. You can send the question, forward the question to me, and I will try to answer as quickly as possible. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emil. And now you have a permission to leave the Zoom room. Okay, let's moving on. I would like to thank to all of those who still with us since day one until today of International Short Course. In this closing event, I'm representing the Faculty of Law, Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, Indonesia, especially our Dean, the Honorable Professor Kelly Guardiono, all faculty leaders, and committee short course program. We are very grateful to all participants, speaker, and of course moderator, and all parties so this event can run well. I also apologize to the participants if in implementation there are still many related to various other information. And don't forget at 4 p.m. with the end of entire series course activity, we hope we can meet at another time and opportunity. We say Alhamdulillah because this international short course program. Thank you and see you again. My name is Kansa Adia Reba. I will take my leave. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.